So they'll be working third AM.
Yes, just, letting everyone know.
And then
Roll.
they
Just
go to the academy.
Peanut gallery.
Yeah, no.
9. Want to make sure we have a quorum.
Not far enough away, but
We're rolling.
Okay, I have 5 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum, if I counted right. I know a couple of people that emailed me and said they weren't going to make it, John and Jen. So I'll begin with approval of minutes. Everyone should have received a copy of the minutes. Thank you, Shannon, very much. Again. Any corrections, additions, deletions to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Dave and Allison. By the way, John Atwater said somebody else is going to have to make the motions. I won't be there today.
Okay, which Dave was it?
Dave, oh, I'm sorry, Dave Boyle. Okay, public comment. Anyone who would like to, from the public, who would like to speak about an item that is not on the agenda? I already checked. Chief does have a gun, so he can do whatever he wants. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. OPM.
OPM.
That's you tonight.
That's it. Tim is on his way. He called me. He's just running a couple minutes late.
Okay, good.
But I think it's still being passed around. There's a monthly update here with some photos on it. So on site, there's a lot of site work going on, moving a lot of dirt. We've been working down in the building footprint, bringing that up to grade, doing a lot of excavation, and then also working in the new roundabout area on site, bringing that up to grade as well. So we're bringing a lot of fill into there. Strip down all the trees and all the shrubs that are in that area. What we've also done is changed the drop-off location, kind of driving into the school. We widened that south lot, restriped it, and the south drive coming into the school that we showed the plan for last month. So that went into effect this past Monday. Still getting used to it. There's been a little bit of congestion and just people and parents and staff and everybody's still getting used to it. I was out there today with Allison and with Dale. I know the chief had, I think you were up top with some of your officers up there. So, so still little adjustments that need to happen. And then, so I know one of the issues that came up was the trucks that are bringing dirt from the school site up to the new roundabout area. They were bringing up, there was I think 4 trucks up there today, I think me and Larry counted, while pickup was happening. So it causes a lot of congestion when the trucks are coming up and then they're backing into that new roundabout area. So we've asked Fontaine to stop doing that, and they agreed that they will. So it's only probably 15 minutes that they need to hold off doing that work for. So we did ask them to stop doing that, and that should help keep that flow of traffic moving and not cause it back up. So that was helpful. So like I said, we're going to try and put up some additional signs in the south lot parking lot to help kind of even further direct some traffic and make it a little bit more accessible. I know the school is going to work with the staff as far as having people park closer to the treehouse lane and leaving the spots open closer to the school to help with the kids so they're not running all the way across the lot to get to their parents' vehicles. Chief, you have a question?
I do. With regards to the truck traffic.
Yep.
During the, I'll call it 20 minutes drop-off pickup, both
Yes.
in the morning and the afternoon.
Yep.
Is the only truck stoppage that you're going to have is the one going to the road, the roundabout area?
We're going to try and just hold off trucks even
Okay.
leaving the job site at that time. Like I said, it's a 15-minute period that they're going to have to do
Right.
that for. So if they're coming out, we don't want anybody we want to prevent the congestion. It's a safety thing. We have walkers leaving the site. We have cars coming in. We just want to prevent them from actually even.
Because that was
driving
the
off
single
site.
biggest traffic issue that we had the last 2 days.
Right. Yeah, and I witnessed it today. I wasn't there for it yesterday, but I saw it today.
This morning was, and I'll also say that so if I may.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had one detail officer at the entrance exit of the school itself.
Yeah.
I had my south side car, which is responsible for all of the south side patrol.
Mhm.
But if the call volume wasn't there, I was able to put him at Glen South and
Yeah,
Park,
that intersection there. Yeah.
which that was very helpful.
Yes.
And then I was assisting the other officer. It was almost a 2-man job.
Yeah.
This morning it was.
Sure.
And I also had one officer up on West Park, which
Yep.
would be the
Yeah, that loops
The
The
around.
unofficial
Yeah.
detour.
the unofficial detour.
Yeah.
And to that point, there was a handful of cars, not many at all,
Mhm.
the buses, and then there was one truck.
Okay.
And that's part of the problem with the trucks is they're coming out trying to go left, and we're sending everybody else right.
Right.
And it wasn't just the trucks going to, they were doing a U-turn in the South Street intersection and backing down in the
Yep.
midst of busing and all of it at once.
Right.
So it wasn't just those trucks, it was also the trucks coming out trying to go left. So, if you can halt truck traffic for 15, 20 minutes in the morning and the afternoon.
Right,
It'll
yeah.
save a big headache.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. So like I said, I talked to Fontaine, they're on board with doing that, so.
But I think it's an important piece on the Westview Terrace and the West Park, that there was minimal traffic up there.
Oh, good, okay.
I do want to touch on that for a moment. I know Allison's been getting some communications, and I want the community to be aware of some concerns that have been brought forward from some Westview Terrace neighbors. The issue for us, the issue for the school department is, though, there is no official detour. When these cars leave Whitebrook, they're on city streets. If cars are going to speed around side streets to try to make up time, the chief's going to catch them. I mean, I don't know what the school department was expected to do. There was a concern about a lack of communication. I'm not sure what we were expected to communicate to the neighborhood, that the cars are leaving Whitebrook like they always did. Sure, they're forced to go right. They could be turning around in someone's driveway. Are we supposed to try to stop that? I don't know how we do that, but I'm still of the opinion that when they leave the Whitebrook lot, they're on city streets, they're on their own. If the cars, go ahead.
As the counselor from the district where the left turns are, the chief told me he was gonna analyze for the next 2 weeks the left turns to see if it could be reinstated.
Yeah.
I encourage that. You're gonna get a lot of people in my district that are gonna be complaining about it, and then you're gonna get the people on Westview and all of complaining. If it's safe, and I think if the trucks aren't coming up there in the morning and in the afternoon, maybe it'll be okay, but I left that up to the chief. He
I
knows
think
what
the
he's
issue is
doing.
the safety. I mean, we talked about it yesterday, Chief, with all those cars turning in from
As it
both
stands-
ways.
Right, as it stands now, in the last 2 days, and haven't been down there both days, I think we're a ways away from
Yeah,
the council risk is suggesting.
yeah. And I know the superintendent has said the parents seem to have been great with all of this. They're rolling with the punches.
The parents are being very patient.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they realize that it's new, it's gonna take a couple days. They know that there's gonna be some delays. I mean, you can clearly see the construction going on. So people, for the most part, have been very, very positive and just kind of like, we're gonna give it some time. We know it's not gonna be perfect on day one, and they're trying to get used to it and do the best they can.
I think the other thing we remind everyone that I almost overlooked until we spoke yesterday is we're talking about the rest of the school year here, because presumably, Bert, the roundabout is going to be usable by the time school begins in September. So this all goes away.
Right, that's what they're targeting. They want to be able to have a binder course down on the roundabout, at least, not finished paving probably,
Right.
but it
So
should be.
the
usable.
right-hand turn is going to be, they'll just loop around the roundabout and head back,
How
so.
is that gonna work with 2 roads? You're gonna have a construction road and a regular road, both feeding in the roundabout?
That's part of the trick.
Hopefully we can keep that window closed at the same time
Right.
next year too.
And there's a lot of grading.
Yeah,
You
it
can't
just
have
has to be
construction
on road,
trucks
too.
that
Out
top
there
of the
with
road has to
buses
get lots
and
pretty.
all that.
Right, with walkers and pedestrians, yeah, I agree.
That can't.
So the car's finding a way to get back to the southern section of town is a short term. You know, we're talking about March, April, May here, part of June, so.
I mean, it's great to hear that the parents are accepting and being patient. I do think though, when we're talking about communication to the neighborhood, if this was not a school project, and I think of what we've done with INSA, what we've done with other major projects around One Ferry, we did mailers, we canvassed, we updated. I mean, somebody walking out their front door any given day had a reasonable expectation of what they were dealing with traffic disruption. And I feel for some of them. I mean, as far as if the child doesn't go to Whitebrook and they're trying to catch a bus, or they're trying to get a kid or themselves to work, and all of a sudden it's an extra 15 minutes because X, Y, or Z is happening, you know, if we can do anything to dispel that, I mean,
Yeah,
think-
and I just don't know where the reach goes, that's my only concern. I mean, I've heard some parents that are going out to Main Street and cutting down Coleman Road and back around that way. I mean, that's into Southampton.
Yeah,
You know, how far-
but
I
I
don't
would,
know.
I mean, I would think that parents have more of a reason and a need and urgency to understand what's happening with the project. But neighbors, I mean, they do, they don't, everybody has their lives, and I'm more concerned with them. I mean, that's, you know, and they're difficult to get a hold of because they're not connected to the school project. And when I say mailers and canvassing and putting up flyers around town where folks, I think it's really important. I think we really missed the boat on that. Even if it's for till the end of the school year, they're, you know, it's an issue, it's getting bigger, and I would remind this committee that all eyes are on and will be on even stronger once the sewer and water rates are set as far as what happens to tax dollars. And quite honestly, and what happens with our resounding success of coming in under bid. I mean, that's another, we really need to be thinking about a communication plan and showing that this project is worth it and we're on it and people are hearing about things going on, whether it's traffic or these now posting these updates are great. You know, people have to understand why this is worth every penny, under, over bid. And if we can't talk about it and communicate, we're gonna lose the faith and trust of neighbors. I think parents are kind of in a groove. You know, they're there more, they're hearing from their kids, that, you know, or buses or whatnot, but larger residents in those neighborhoods are impacted. And it's a funky neighborhood. There's a lot of dead ends, there's a cul-de-sac, you know, so it can change. I mean, I think people will routinize to it and just expect a little bit of the unsuspecting, but right now they're in reactive mode and wondering what's gonna happen next.
So what about doing a mailer now? Getting that out to the neighborhood, to the community?
I don't see the point.
I've been confused as to what do we tell people? We think some
Right.
cars might go down your street when they're leaving school.
Listen,
There's
I
no-
think,
If it was an official detour, absolutely, I would agree with you.
Right.
If we said, we're telling all school parents, here's how you're gonna leave here, go down south, go down Westview, West Park, and back out. Now, we're knocking on every door, making sure everyone knows, because we made, like we did with Button Road, okay? We reached out to the Treehouse folks, we met with them, we took the arrows, and now we backed away from that option. But I don't know what it is we communicate.
I think it's
There might be cars coming down your street.
I think it's a revised timeline to know that this roundabout could be in place by the end of the school year. I would want to know it if I lived around there. I don't think we've been
That-
clear, and I don't think.
I don't
right?
disagree with you. I think that's,
You know,
I think
I
that's a
think
great.
it's an apology and
I-
saying these are difficult things to,
I can agree. I agree with you.
You
I
know.
agree with you on the. I don't. Apology is too strong a word for me because again, over, you know, for the last however many years we've been working on this project,
Right.
everyone knows this is happening. However, I say that, and then I still find and hear from people who say, "We're not doing this school, are we?" Like
No,
it's
I
like,
absolutely-
so
right.
how are we to get to
Yeah.
every single person? So, you know, and use it, call it whatever barometer you want, but social media has been relatively quiet about this. Like, I haven't seen, and I know that's not the tell-all, I get that. And I know that I wouldn't have been surprised. I mean, I was texting more than a few of you here to see how the traffic was. and
From Florida.
Knew it was going to be from Florida.
Yeah.
Knew it was going to be a disaster. I can't fix the traffic from Florida, but I think most folks know that the next week or two. I mean, I have a strong suspicion that within a week or two, this will be. We'll move on to the next
Well,
thing.
the chief had an officer on Westview Terrace today and said there were 6 cars, less than 6 cars, that went up Westview Terrace.
And I don't disagree that.
Yes.
Up to 4 buses go up Westview Terrace.
I don't disagree that communication is going to be key to this. I think your post that you put out that and wherever else you put it, asking folks to sign up for the newsletter was a great idea. I plan on, you know, unofficially, officially you know, when the school was being built, I went up there at least once every 2 or 3 weeks and did a 3-minute video with Mike Burley and somebody, I can't remember the guy's name, who walked me around and told me what was happening at this date, this time and point. I plan on doing that again.
Make sure when he
So-
goes up there, he only sees what you want.
So, I think I don't disagree with you at all as far as the communication and really getting the word out to everybody. And you know, I think that, I personally am gonna really push to make sure that we continue to do
I'm
that.
totally okay with that, I'm still totally
I don't know
lost.
how-
What's the word we're getting out?
We're getting out a word on a
What's going
postcard
on?
to all to like make the pin in the vision software a mile. And they get a postcard and saying, yes, there's been disruptions. We are working hard to get this roundabout done as soon as possible. You know, I don't know what the words would say. This is who you contact.
Maybe some
You know.
increased traffic? maybe
Yeah,
neighborhood?
increased traffic. I wouldn't even talk about that. I would just say, you know, this is a construction, just because I don't know if this would have been, I think all of this would have been easy if we had done that in the first place, just based on something else. And remember, INSA wasn't formal. Those weren't actual detours.
Right.
I mean, and we upended a whole, you know, neighborhood for that with several police, and, you know, it worked out. It just wasn't a Netta situation.
Yeah.
But I just would, there are a lot of people who don't have kids in the school and aren't really paying attention to social media. And if we don't give them a heads up proactively, when we have to go back for another ask, I am concerned that we will not have credibility.
So who should be sending out that postcard?
This committee,
Because I don't have access to any of
it's online.
that.
It's public, it's on the assessor's website. It takes 2 seconds to do it. Everybody in the city has one, has access to
Okay,
it.
I
You just
didn't know
can-
that.
Yeah.
It's news to me.
Yeah, the assessor, I mean, getting the list and we make them in mailing labels, we do it all the time.
So how much money do you think that would cost? Are we talking about 1,000 neighbors? Are we talking about 100 neighbors?
It's probably not 1,000.
Somewhere in 1,000.
The neighborhood's not that densely populated.
And if it's a postcard, what is it, 34 cents?
So it
Well, are
sounds
you gonna get the
like,
explanation you're looking for on a postcard?
Well, I think the point is, you're trying to get something out there
Exactly.
versus nothing.
Exactly.
so is it
Wish you were here.
a question of
And I think
having
the
a
key is-
subcommittee of this committee that's like a communication kind of group?
Pardon?
Is it I'm just trying to quantify this. Is it maybe a proposal to have a subcommittee of this committee that is responsible for communication? I mean, I feel like I'm trying to keep a handle on the school side of things, and so I just don't, is it the whole committee that should work on this? Are we still deciding whether it's the committee that should work on this?
Well,
Because if I'm hearing Nicole correctly, it's not maybe just like a one-time thing. I think that
No, it's
that
a one-time thing.
communication.
No, she is talking about
It's
what's
a one-time thing.
Oh, you just want a one-time
Right,
thing?
and
You don't
it's
want like
you can go
ongoing?
here,
No.
You get the information, you know,
Gotcha.
with everything that's posted, like, this is, you know, the timelines, the updated timelines are gonna be there, you know, this is who you
Okay, I didn't know if you were
call.
like talking about like a whole thing.
No, just a one-time thing.
Gotcha.
And I mean, the other suggestion I would have is if there's an opportunity to do a community sidewalk walk, like going down the sidewalk to the new site with a couple of people from this committee, so members of the public, whether there be 1 or 15, they walk down the sidewalk and they walk to the middle school. So now they have a picture of, you know, how safe, that fence is very defined. And there are ways out of it if for whatever reason people like to get out. And yes, the road, it works. I mean, I went down there myself this morning to check it out, and it works, it flows. I mean, the dump trucks almost hit me on the way out, but you're gonna fix that, so I let that go.
We
And
won't
my
talk.
car is old, so that's fine. Yeah, but I think like something like that to kind of loop people back in. And we also plan to do this with other major construction projects, because also remember, we have another roundabout on the same timeline at One Ferry, and we will have shovels in the ground on Route 10 within, I don't know, the next 3 to 4 months. They're already starting. When we tear it up when we tear up Route 10 in front of the co-op, for the turn lane, and then we're fixing Lyman Street. So,
And are you mailing out to 1 Ferry Street neighborhood 1 mile radius?
We have in the past when we've had to give them a heads up. And right now, we're looking at what the next steps are for like the real roundabout building, what we're gonna do, and, you know, there'll be a community outreach plan, but the plan's not quite gelled with the contractor.
But
With
roughly
some-
that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go.
Because I mean, from my perspective, living in that neighborhood, that's the biggest issue. Like, there's this 20-minute window in either way of coming and drop off that everyone gets messed up with. It's always been messed up. It's always been an issue. But now suddenly, all of that extra construction and the roundabout that's going in the next few months,
Yeah.
that's what's above and beyond what people are already experiencing with just getting into White Brook and trying to drive in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that's what I agree would be good to communicate out. But that's a critical part that's hitting our neighborhood beyond, above and beyond the school, which is mostly not gonna be, you know, people don't see it, it's down below, so.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think when I was speaking with Allison yesterday, the comparison between this project and the high school, there was a lot of that touching and feeling with neighbors. The high school is built in the middle of a residential neighborhood. So we were knocking on doors, just, and the type of construction with the pillars going in, the pounding, and there were photos taken before and after and all that. I looked at this project as absent the roundabout, this is being built in the middle of the woods. There's no houses around us.
Yeah.
So you're not really, you know, people, I don't hear people complaining about what time of the day the construction's starting or whatever. They did at the high school, believe me, because
No, we
you were
heard
right
that.
in someone's backyard.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah, we have that one.
Yeah, yeah.
We've been-
I've heard that.
Already
Yeah.
heard that?
Yeah, 6 o'clock is too early.
if we don't hear it, it's not happening, so.
I got a great deal on my house, so thank you.
Yeah, that one house sold at the top up there too in this neighborhood, so I wonder how much that went for.
All right, we'll work on
Tom?
something. Yes.
Do we have a Facebook site for the school,
The school department
The
does.
school website.
school website?
too, is
School
putting out
website.
all-
If you
That's-
go
that's-
on
yeah.
the school district website,
Yeah.
there's a link where you can sign up to get messages from me.
Yeah, and these are going out.
And I think the city shared it too.
Whatever
Yeah,
link-
we shared it.
Yeah,
And
on
we're gonna post
Facebook?
the
It
link
should be
Yeah,
on there.
yeah.
on the city
Right,
landing
right.
page.
I'm just saying that one of the things I keep hearing is they're building it on the swamp, and I know that we've solved that problem. I'd love it if we could get out information as we go. See this is the dirt that's compressing the land, et cetera.
This is
Yeah,
on
leave
our,
it-
this
no,
is
this
posted on our
This is going out there.
on our
Okay.
website,
I'm just saying, anything you can
and
do.
I'm going to
show
send this
that.
out to the group.
Don't you
The
worry, I'll have a
residents that
video
signed
all
up.
about that.
This looks to me,
Don't worry.
anyway, the top right-hand picture looks to me like some of the driest land in East Hampton.
All I'm saying is people are still harping
I
on
agree.
it, but they're the people that
They're-
didn't want to build the school in the first place, so
Correct.
don't worry about it, but.
Those are all posted on our website.
Okay. Huh?
Those are posted on our website.
Yeah.
Because I know one of them, and I asked him if he went to any of Bert's presentations. He said no. So I politely told him that, get educated before you run your mouth. Because he didn't know what he was talking about.
How do you politely say that?
Get educated before you get him out.
Please.
Okay.
Who does these?
Call your office, yeah.
Can you,
I have it electronically.
You all are getting the
PDF.
weekly ones.
Yes, I have
You
it.
still want the weekly?
You want it?
Yeah, and you get the monthly one.
I don't think
Yeah,
I
the
have it.
weekly.
Let me
Everybody's
check
okay
it right now.
getting the
can you
weekly
do it as a
ones?
JPEG?
There we go.
But I thought the.
Why you gotta be difficult? Just take a picture
I'm not
of
being
it.
difficult, because I want it to look nice.
They come as
versus not.
JPEGs, I thought.
Okay, perfect. I don't know. if
I
they-
thought the attachment she sends us.
Was it?
It comes as a
Perfect.
JPEG.
Okay. Then
All
we're
right,
good.
I'm seeing what it was that I was sent.
That'll make it easier to share.
Do you guys also want me to attach this to the minutes?
I would, seeing it was handed out here at the meeting, I would.
Okay.
The others are coming to you all electronically, the weekly ones. This is a monthly one, right?
This is monthly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is really just the building committee update. There's monthly reports that we do for the MSBA. There's weekly reports that we do that we also share. But this is really designed to be kind of for this group.
So it's what I'm posting on the website,
Are you posting the weekly ones?
not the weekly ones. There are a lot of minutia and pictures of mud right now.
There's no mud there, Allison.
No.
Oh, Dave. Go look at my car.
It's winter, it gets wet, it's mud. I just
would
walked
do
down
that,
there.
though, I would just remind everyone that those are public documents.
Yeah.
And and while we might not wanna post them or whatnot, I would rather post them to get a FOIA request for the last 3 years.
Absolutely.
And have to
Absolutely.
give them up under a FOIA. I
Put them
cannot,
out there.
The weekly ones that you're saying?
anything and everything, let's just get it out there.
Well, it's all public information, the files.
Right, and you have to request them.
Yep.
Yep, I think that there needs, if we have to do a sidebar and we need to go through these reports, there are folks who really wanna know penny by penny, and we can be reactive to what they're looking for, which they have a right to do it, or we can put it forward regardless of how confusing it is. I look through those documents, I don't know what they say, I trust you guys, but somebody else wants to read them, and maybe they wanna feel control. But for us to be saying, honestly, in a public meeting, that we're gonna hold off on this, that, or the other thing is not okay with me. It's not transparent. Let people get confused, let them go wherever they want to on social media, God bless you, Pat Bruff, and let them call and give us, we're answering emails, I know Allison is answering calls, and you guys are, and this is a huge project. And the third financial burden on this community comes within the next 6 weeks. And as we round down this project, there will be and should be scrutiny about what every dollar is spent for. And I am not pulling out a 50-page document from March to say, hey, this is what happened with the gravel, and this is why this doesn't look like. The public deserves more, and we can't afford it as stewards of this project. And whether it has to be, I don't know, we can talk to Ashley about how to do it technically, so if it's a Dropbox, or if it's whatever it needs to be.
So you're saying the weekly ones?
I'm saying whatever we have.
Well, I think
Put
what's.
the link up for MSBA, and let, and let everybody see the breadth of this project, the technical detail.
Yeah, whatever, we have nothing to hide. I was actually asking the committee, are you feeling over inundated, that's even a phrase, with these coming out every week as opposed to a monthly one coming out? And I'm okay with, I just hit point and click and off they go to you guys, but we can put out links to MSBA, we can put out links to anything. If all that information is public, it goes to MSBA, right?
MSBA doesn't look at everything.
They don't get this, for instance.
Right.
Right.
This doesn't
No,
get
no,
it.
no.
This is for
Yeah.
the community.
So
Yeah.
it probably is a sidebar just to figure out the logistics of it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Okay.
There's no problem with this stuff. It is all public information. Anybody that ever calls and asks, they can see whatever they want.
Right.
But logistically, just how to make it work, I guess.
Yeah.
Is,
Yeah.
And I think we have, did Peg Coniff reach out yet about inviting the committee, or maybe you, Allison, to city council to do a presentation on?
She asked me to come for 3 dates.
For 3 dates. So that's the other
City
thing is,
council.
I don't know when the first one is, she mentioned it to me.
April.
So in April, it's and this is these documents are big, this is the link, this is how you can get information until the next time, the school building committee comes before city council.
April 1st.
I just want to support
That's
the
a great
mayor on
day.
this.
It's my
City
birthday.
councilors always get questions,
Yeah.
where do we find out what's going on? If you put it on the website, make it easy to find and navigate, then we aren't gonna be, we could educate them, or they have to educate themselves. But if it's not there, it's hard to defend. So I certainly agree with the mayor. Anything you can do to put anything that is, if it's in this meeting, it's public.
I don't think anybody disagrees with what either of you said.
Okay, I'm
No
just
one
saying.
does. No one does at all. We're just, it's a matter of how to click and point where, and we'll be done with it. That's it. I
It's easy.
totally agree.
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
the
we're all
best
on the
way to
same,
do
we're
it.
all on the same page,
So I just,
I think.
the part where I get confused sometimes is, we're gonna put all of this out on the website, which we have been right along. This has been going out on the website from day one, I believe.
Okay.
In addition to that, we're gonna make a presentation to the city council? Okay, so they can't go out and see it all, we need to come and verbally explain it to them.
I don't think that's,
Sorry, I'm being a bit
I don't think
facetious.
that's a big deal if you got,
I mean-
once every couple of months. I don't think that's a big deal to have
And think about too.
us go
I
and
mean,
present to them, hey,
right.
what's going on?
if nothing else, how many forums did we do? to get the school passed.
Right.
That was quick. Remember every single one of them. Yeah, so, I mean, to do this, and let's also remember, we're going back out to bond.
Oh, people,
Yeah. I mean, we're, like, this isn't done.
Right.
We used to have Dan Carey on the council. He was at these meetings for the high school. We could ask him what's going on,
And he would report out.
and he would report it. We don't have that now. I tried to do it the last meeting. Peg wants to get
Yeah.
better information from somebody more knowledgeable than me. So,
Well,
And she didn't wanna talk to me about it.
Again, I'm being.
I was gonna say, why not the mayor?
our minutes are very thorough.
I tried out.
I will
no,
tell you.
I'm not saying.
I will tell you
Yeah.
our minutes are very thorough, and that video camera right there is recording this for anybody who wants to watch it. Matter of fact, I couldn't make the last meeting, and I sat and watched the last meeting. It gets views, people see it, there's
Yeah.
plenty of ways for.
Well, maybe
There
one of
are,
the,
but I still think that we really do need to do as much
Yeah.
as possible
Oh.
to
Yeah.
communicate. I
I'm
mean,
fine.
I know,
I'm
I'm
fine
just
with
putting
calling.
out, that there are ways that
It's
people.
being
during the
appreciated, that's all it
election,
is.
I
Yeah.
had a long conversation with a woman when I was holding a sign for school committee. And her main complaint was, I don't go on the Easthampton school
Remember, I was
website.
there.
And she was very upset. She said, I don't know anything, nobody's reaching out to me. And so, you know, we've talked about ways to get better and
Yeah.
better at communicating with the whole populace. And I think, you know, the mail out for the local neighbors is a really good idea. Just to say, listen, we are considering you, we are thinking about the fact there is gonna be an impact. It's not gonna solve everything, because maybe you don't watch the city council meetings, or maybe you don't watch these, or, you know, you're not going on that site. But the more we do to try to reach out and to announce that at city council meetings, at our school committee meetings,
Right.
and we could do that more often, we could just do as a reminder, this is where you can find all the information. People will start to feel a little bit more like we're really communicating, because there is some upsettedness that we're all starting to hear about the impact economically of this school, and we want to have the community still feel really good about the decision that they made.
Okay.
So I agree, I think we should just do as much as we can. Might be a little cumbersome for a while, and there's probably a streamlined way to do it. One of the things we can do is at every school committee meeting, remind everybody where they can find the information,
Well,
if nothing else.
I agree in principle with everything, but to be just stick in the mud, I don't want it to be cumbersome to
Right.
Bert and Colliers.
Yes,
At some point in time, our responsibility is to build this project with craftsmanship and safety. I don't mind reaching out to people, but I do have an OL attitude to a certain degree.
Mhm.
If they can't tell that there's a dump truck out there, I mean, it's here. I understand outreach, but whatever the sidebar it is, let's get a system that's,
I think the system is in place. I think it needs to be communicated out. And
I mean, I can see
Right.
there looks like,
So-
I don't want, like even city council, I don't want anyone to think they're being micromanaged. I'm all for every meeting for safety and safety, but let's build the building the right way, and in the end, that will be our advertising.
I hear that, however, when you're talking about the use of time, and perhaps you'd like to comment, when I get complaints and I do not know the answers or who to contact somebody with, and I start blasting emails to Colliers, and then they're responding to individual
I know,
neighbors, I would say that's a burden. I would say that's an absolute burden, and not to mention a waste of my time, to have to do it over and over and over again.
No, I appreciate that, I understand
I
how
do
it
think the
works.
product is going to, but right now, I think we missed, 3 weeks ago, we missed an opportunity.
But
Oh,
whatever
wow,
we
it
missed, we
happens.
missed, you can't make it up. Going
Nope.
forward,
Right,
Just
and
do it.
now, all of the systems that we've put in place and who's gonna respond to what, we need to get the word out and saying, we heard it, and this is how it happens, and this is where you get it, and then be done. I mean, I get it.
no, I just wanted to be a little
Yes.
stick in the
and we're
mud.
still not gonna reach
Shocking.
everybody, we're not gonna make everybody happy, but we're gonna do the best we can
Right.
There you go.
to communicate.
You know, we're not reinventing the wheel. What we
No.
were producing as a work product
Yeah.
is what you're putting on the website.
Yeah.
So it's not an extra
Yeah.
burden to
Right.
us. It's an extra burden to you
Mhm.
on how you manage this process. And I've mentioned it before, and we've talked a little bit about it at the last building committee, or at the last job meeting. we do need to funnel citizens' concerns through a channel so that they're not going, some are going to you, some are going to you, some are going to Adam. And so they should all be funneled, and then that way they can be addressed. Okay, this is a city issue, this is a school department issue, this is a construction question that I don't have the answer to. I can go to either Bert or Colliers to get that information, and we can provide that. So I think we can provide you this additional information to get up and post however you deem appropriate. And then answer questions, provide input on what should, other things that could go in the mailer or something. But we would need either this committee or the city to do that.
Tim, I would agree with that. However, I guess I was under the impression that the Park Street neighbors that will be immediately impacted by the roundabout, I mean, there's gonna be some potentially technical, very specific questions. I assume those folks are gonna be communicated with by Colliers.
No, I would say that first that the.
This is where it all went south. That's a great example, because that's exactly what happened with Mrs. Kavanaugh. She had no idea.
Can I put forward a proposal?
And
It
how,
sounds
and
like
my point with that, hold on, my point with that though, Nicole, was if we're talking about an easement, or we're talking about 6 inches or 8, how does this committee know that detail? We don't know that detail. That's gotta come from Colliers.
Yes.
Oh, right, so I would think that there'd have been proactive notification to abutters, temporary easements or whatnot. I mean,
By?
Sure, by Colliers, by Fontaine,
Right,
right? So there wasn't, so I get the call,
right.
right? So now I'm trying to figure out what it is and, you know.
And I get an
emailing
email
them.
and I have no idea what I'm talking
Right,
about.
exactly.
Yeah, so I think we're all talking about the same thing, and we're getting into detail about easements where we're not working on anybody else's property yet.
Right.
We couldn't choose to build the roundabout until the bids came in, so there's no way to get an easement for a project that you can't build until you, or even know if you have the ability to build until the bids come in. So I think that how we distribute the information is really what we need to focus on.
Right.
Certainly, if there's a follow-up that this procedure I just outlined isn't sufficient, and we really do need to sit with somebody, a particular neighbor who we're really right up to their property, certainly we can do something different than that. But for the 99% of the questions you're gonna get aren't those kind of questions.
Right, absolutely.
And 80% of those are gonna be about parents for their kids and how that impacts dismissal or pickup or something else.
Totally agree. I'm referring specifically, Tim, to like 3 or 4 neighbors immediately impacted. I don't see that communication coming from the city or the school department. For those 3 or 4 neighbors that are right there around, and 3 or 4 I might be exaggerating by 1 or 2. Because I'm not sure how they're going to be impacted, if at all. We're not even sure yet. But my point is, when the time comes, I'm not saying, I don't know if we missed a boat, maybe we did. The mayor's getting more emails than I am. But my point is, when the time comes for those to be impacted, you can funnel that, what's going to be communicated through us or through the school department, but the technical answers to their questions can't come from the school department.
So can I put forward a proposal, since it sounds like for the most part, we're in agreement that more communication needs to happen, right? Different ways of doing it, but also the idea that there would be a subcommittee from this group that's focused on communication and outreach. So instead of us continuing to go round and round on this conversation, if we could agree to having that subcommittee, a number of people work on that and start working on what kind of outreach that we're gonna do, what kind of flyer, postcard, what kind of communication we need to get exactly from Colliers to be able to answer those abutment easement issues, whatever we need to do, but that subcommittee could take that on and run with it.
Agreed. And we need somebody with the technical savvy to do what Nicole explained, because that ain't me. I used to have people who do that.
Such a, rich comment.
Maren, were you volunteering?
I was volunteering a proposal to be able to start working on, to have a subgroup work on this.
Who feels, I mean, the most immediate one is the postcard to, as the mayor suggested, potentially that 1 mile radius around, say, the entrance to Whitebrook, which is probably going to hit almost to Main Street. So just draw a circle, that 1 mile radius, and we drop this postcard to those households that just says, the time, there may be some increased traffic in the areas. Roundabout is scheduled to be done, I don't know, right after Labor Day, we could say. Not done, but usable. So the issue of, because the only issue we've created right now is sending that traffic all a right-hand turn. If they could still make a left-hand turn, then we've done nothing to change the status quo.
Well, no, but we've got trucks, we've affected the neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood, I see it every day.
Yeah.
So we've affected the neighborhood, so just as a public communication, and again, I don't think we have time or want to go into the minutia of what's going to be written on the postcard here and now with everybody here.
Right.
But my proposal is that we have a subcommittee that starts to work on that. And if we can agree to that, then we can have people volunteer to it and they can
I
move forward
second
on it.
that, and I'll
Thank you.
work with you, me and you will work something out.
So Maren, I agree with you too. I guess it would
And
just be a
Deb,
smaller
yeah,
circle.
we're gonna tell Deb.
Voluntold.
Deb, she's gonna help me and you and her, we'll work on that.
Perfect. Everybody good with that?
Sure.
Pat, Maren, Deb.
Sounds good.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Maren's like, I still don't think I
I owe you
volunteered
one.
for that.
Thank you. We're still on you, Adam, on that third bullet. It was a financial update.
Did you have
Where's that,
anything
Tim?
Yeah, I do have a copy of something that you guys have all seen before. Send it in a couple different directions. But essentially, we're on budget. I'll wait for everyone to go into the details, but we're on budget, things are going well. We will have some change orders coming up. You recall during the bidding, we didn't have an elevator filed sub-bid because nobody submitted. So what we had to do was put in a estimated value, told the general contractor to carry an estimated value for the elevator, and then they were required to go out and get some bids for the elevator work. So I believe it was about $260,000 that we had in for the cost of the elevator, came in at $261, or right there, about $800 more than what we had estimated. So there will be a change order that we'll be processing for that, and we have some other minor items coming up. But column A is our budget. That's the 109 million. Column B is just what's been invoiced to date. So we've processed, this does not include the $1.2 million Fontaine invoice for January, which was processed after this was finalized. But for this, we're at $7.2 million that has been spent to date. What you've contracted for is the bottom of column C, which is 93 million, almost $94 million. And then the other two columns, D and E, are just really about what's either been invoiced or encumbered for this past period. And columns, again, F and column G, we're just trying to monitor of that $7.2 million that's been spent, how much of that is eligible for reimbursement, and then what does that reimbursement amount to. So that's just trying to keep a running tally of what the net is to the city. But financially, we're good, we're on budget, nothing has really changed. And we'll provide updates for this as we go.
Tim, so when I'm looking at this chart, and just giving us where, so F is the MSBA eligible project cost to date, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then the reimbursement, column G, the 3.3 million, that's taken from, that is a percent of the 5.8?
63.15 is the factor. I don't remember which side you're on.
Okay.
But there's a percentage that so not everything is reimbursable. So even though the budget is 109,
yeah,
only a portion of that is reimbursable dollars. So that tracks what's reimbursable, and then they do the multiplier against that to come up with how much they reimburse.
So presumably 4.1 million is 63% of 6.6 million.
Yeah, so you may have spent you spent 7.2 and you've gotten back 4.1.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure. I was
So
following.
that helps with your, as you mentioned, the bonding.
Yeah.
I know for different reasons and bond rates and that sort of thing, you may want to borrow it now, but you are getting reimbursed along the way, so you wouldn't necessarily need to.
Thank you.
And we did, just to clarify too for the committee, in a series of emails that went around between Tim and myself and others, if you recall, we approved the fact that Allison can approve change orders up to 50,000, but they do need to still be signed off on by the mayor's office. So even though they get approved here, they get shipped downstairs for a signature.
Do I need to put that in the minutes?
Sure.
I think that was in last month.
It was.
I did, but I didn't say that it had to be signed off
signed off
by the
on
mayor's
it.
office.
And a
Okay.
question I had about that, as far as the number of change orders, so $50,000 at a clip, but how many in a month? Or how many, I mean,
I don't think we put.
Typically,
Yeah, we
we
didn't.
group as many proposals from the contractor as we can per
Yeah.
month and do one change order per month.
okay.
We may have 10, we may have 2.
I'm just concerned if something really goes south and we
Well, I
have
would be
two
too.
change, yeah, I mean, we have 2 change orders or 3 change orders of $50,000 in 3 weeks. I mean, probably not gonna happen,
No.
but that's a significant, I would just be concerned.
If something like that happens, usually when you're talking that kind of dollar value,
Yeah.
they take a little bit longer to process just because the contractor has to get his subs involved in pricing. So we
Yeah.
usually have a little bit more heads up that it's coming,
Okay,
and so that we could call either a full building committee meeting to talk about it,
okay,
or we would have one scheduled where we could talk about it. Well, those aren't usually as quick moving as some of the other minor ones.
And then Tim, would there be a place where we would see those change orders cumulatively, how they're running against the, I assume they're coming out of the contingency?
Yeah, so we'll provide it here, so we'll drop down those, you'll see the contingency numbers dropping and the construction numbers increasing as we move forward.
Okay.
You know, we track things, kind of our working documents, how we track things, but we can talk about that as we get going and what works for you and what information makes sense.
I mean, it just seems like, you know, I forget what the contingency was, millions, right? But when you're doing 50,000 here and 10,000 here, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it does add up.
right.
Obviously.
Well, and this is gonna change, the last big change is gonna happen because this is based on our budget's based on estimated costs.
Mhm.
The fact that the bids came in and they came in below the budget, we have to do a project funding agreement amendment with the MSBA.
Mhm.
So we're finalizing our paperwork that we need to submit to them. And you remember that they'll take back that 63%
Right.
reimbursement of the bid savings. You know, everything else, we talked about keeping that in the project budget, and that'll drop down, that other additional savings will drop down into contingency, but it is a non-reimbursable amount, and the MSBA will remember that.
Mhm.
And that was your next bullet, I think, in the agenda.
Yes, yep. So the one thing we've been waiting on is getting a breakdown of the cost for the asbestos floor tile. The asbestos that's in the existing building, for the most part, it is reimbursable, but certain things the MSBA feels that you should have addressed yourselves over the years. They're not saying you should have opened up walls and taken out, you know, pipe fitting that was asbestos containing, but floor tile is one of those things that they feel that the districts should be responsible for. So we needed to get that breakout cost from the hazardous material contractor. I think we had estimated that to be about $260,000, but the cost that we got was $160,000, which is great. So that means it's not affecting your overall project cost, but it's adding $100,000 more to your reimbursable side than your non-reimbursable side. So that's a good thing.
Absent of any inflation factors, I guess one way to look at that is we would have paid that somewhere along the way in the past. If we had gone in and replaced the floor tiles 10 years ago,
Oh, yeah.
we would have paid to have it abated, so.
No, it's just the way the MSBA kind of trying to divvy up and be equal to those people who, or those districts that maybe have spent the money,
Right.
and versus the ones who haven't. So
Yeah.
it's just how they slice it up.
Makes sense. Groundbreaking. I think you all got an email with the date, May 4th. May the 4th be with you.
I already heard that. I didn't specifically do it for that day. I don't have, the time that we're tentatively scheduling is 10 o'clock. I think that's the time that's been bandied around. So just for your information, it's a half day for kids. So they'll be leaving at 11:30. So we're anticipating that this would be no more than an hour, and then we'll clear out that group, and then the kids can be dismissed. You know, a half day, I don't want to say it's a lost day for productivity, but it's less intense on the school side. I think we can pull kids to maybe do a little band presentation or something. It's not an MCAS testing day because it's a half day, so all good there. Yeah, so.
Yeah, we did talk about getting kids involved, right?
Yes, I would like to get some of the kids involved, yeah.
Good.
So, I'm really looking for, I was hoping Deb Luzme would be here, not to voluntold her for anything else, but I was hoping
I
that.
already got her. So.
I was, one day, a file appeared on my desk that was dropped off by Deb Luzmia that had information from the groundbreaking for the high school. So I think that she was possibly involved in coordinating that, like how they did the invitations, the guest list and all that. So I really wanted to, I want to tap her expertise.
Good, good.
And if there's anyone else that would like, I'm not really a party planner, so not my forte. So if there's anyone else that would like to help me, open.
Deb's a good candidate for that, and I think the
Write that
lesson for
down
all
in
of
the
us
minutes.
is make sure you don't miss a meeting.
Maybe we should help her.
I was gonna just say, we need to add John Atwater to that.
No,
Deb and John,
Deb's-
okay. Put that in the
Laura and I
minutes.
will be visiting her daughter.
All right.
Okay, thanks, Tim and Adam. Bert?
Okay, so, on the construction side of things, we come out once a week to the job meetings and look at the progress, make sure that what they're doing is going in according to the documents, from what we can see in our observations anyways. Right now, they're moving a lot of dirt, as people know. So what we do behind the scenes is we're processing a lot of submittals for them. Everything that goes into the building, they have to submit paperwork on and tell us what it is, how they're putting it in, and we review all that. We're also answering questions through RFIs that the contractor has as he's looking ahead of the documents of what he wants to do next, and making sure that he's got all his answers before he starts. There are coordination meetings that the general contractor runs with his subcontractors to make sure that above the ceilings, all the ductwork and the pipes and everything will all fit the way it's supposed to without conflicting steel. Our office has been sitting in on those meetings to, so that we can just answer things as they come up and make adjustments on the fly. To hopefully help that process go a little bit more smoothly. I reported last time that we were going to meet with FF&E consultant, and we did meet with them and the district on February 5th. They presented what their understanding of the plans were to that date. We went through it. There were a few changes that we made that I think would save a little bit of money. I've got some numbers here, but I'm looking, it looks like when I created the PDF from the Word file, it dropped a few characters. So don't really pay attention to those. And anyways, I just received an updated budget from the FF&E consultant this week, yesterday I think it was, that it gave me. I thought there'd be maybe a little bit more savings than what there was. I'm saying here that right now the budget that we looked at on February 5th was $2,258, almost $2,060, $260 a student. We're still in that range. I think that we're right around $1,000 per student on the district side for FF&E right now. It came down a little bit, but didn't come down enough to put a big dent in that. the big piece that we have the opportunity as far as that goes is we haven't picked out any specific pieces of furniture yet. We haven't said, oh, we definitely like this manufacturer. You know, it's been more categories. We like wobble stools, we like sit-stand desks, things like that. So that's the next phase that comes into this is in the fall or the spring, we'll get back together with the district and we'll do sit tests. Our consultant will bring in actual samples of furniture that the district staff can actually sit in and test out and decide they like this, they don't like that. And in that period, we're really narrowing down what the actual products are. And so there's cost, like anything, there's a cost range in anything you can buy. So, you know, do we need like the high end for a couple pieces that are, you know, maybe gonna take more abuse, where we can get by with more the mid-range for other stuff. So we can get into those details in the next phase of it. And then there's also the budget was based on kind of the request that went out for furnishings and things were kind of like, what would you do in your ideal classroom? What would you need for equipment? What would you like for furniture? And so there might be some prioritization that has to happen during the next phase too, to say, okay, well, we absolutely need this. We would like to have that. You know, this is be great if the money was no object kind of a thing. So we'll do that too. And then the fall, when we're done with that, we'll go and evaluate it against OPM's budget, what we have available for the FF&E package, make sure that we're in line, and then we work on putting together a procurement package for it, so that everything's ready to be delivered in the fall of 2021.
Yeah, we will need to meet as a group and talk about what the estimate from the furniture designers are versus our budget. We've always talked about wanting to supplement the budget, and we have bid savings and we kind of earmarked those. It would be non-reimbursable dollars, but that's, you know, it would always be anything above what the MSBA allows per student. $1,200 is non-reimbursable. So we'll just have to look at what the minimum that we have in the budget, and then really look at what the desire is to put into these different rooms, and see if we have enough to cover that.
And that same fact applied to technology also.
Yeah.
I mean, we knew we were short on those two items, and we're hoping that the contingencies were going to cover that. So far so good, I think, with all of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think we're very far off of what we initially thought that it would be. So I think that we're in decent shape there. The next thing we're doing is I reported, I think last month, that we held a meeting with the HVAC contractor, his controls contractor, because that's always kind of a sticky area at the end of the job, getting everything to work the way we intended it to work, and so that it doesn't become an ongoing headache for Larry and his crew. We're doing a similar thing this Thursday after the job meeting with the electrical subcontractor and their AV coordinator, to make sure that the audiovisual equipment that's going into the building is going to work the way Ashley and his crew think it's going to work when the school opens. So that's right on schedule to have that meeting this week. And then as far as sustainability, with our LEED certification, we are pushing to put our designer portion, the LEED submittal, we're required to put one submission in if that's what we want. You got to submit for the job and get it approved. It helps tremendously, and LEED allows us to do this, to put a designer submission in ahead of the construction submission. And that way, any questions that come up on that side of it, we can get all answered before the construction's even close to being finished. We're targeting to get that submitted during the month of March. So we've got a good long period for that. And usually their review only takes a month or so, and then, you know, take another month to go kind of back and forth with them on any questions that they have. So we should be able to have an answer on ours by this spring or summer, how the design submission went. That's pretty much where we're at.
On sustainability too, most of the points that we're targeting are related to design. Obviously you have to implement that, but most of the points that would really put us to where we need to be are from the design period.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, any of you wanna cruise down on a weekend or something, look around, I mean, it's all fenced off, but you can still see, you know, the question I keep asking Bert whenever I go down there, is any surprises yet? And, I mean, granted, we haven't had a lot of wet weather, but when you look at the football field, where the football field was, boy, it looks pretty darn good. You know, and again, that's the part that's coming up like 9 feet, so that's the effect of preloading, I guess, right? Bringing in 9 feet of.
Well, I think just bringing in new, well-draining, dry material.
Right.
So the first lift that went down, you know, it was still close enough to the wet undersoil pushing the water, so it was coming up through a little bit.
Yeah.
But as they add on to it, we're getting a good, solid, compacted base for the building. So, and as we add, it is compressing the site.
Right.
It's the fill on this job is kind of doing the same job as the large dirt pile we put on the high school site for preloading.
Yeah.
So,
How long will that process take? Like when, so if I were to go down there, anybody go down there and look down and see, we're not doing a basement, I assume this is the same way that
It's
the
all
high
slab
school was
upgrade,
done
right?
on summer. So when do you think, when is the point when they're gonna start doing that concrete work, the slab?
March 1st, they want to start
Okay.
foundations. So
Okay.
I think that's a little bit aggressive, but I bet they don't miss it by much if they miss it at all.
Okay.
They're really pushing hard to get that.
I mean, we've
And
lucked
so-
out with the winter.
So before they do that, they're gonna do, I don't know, test or look or see and say, okay, we've got enough dirt on here that there's no more water coming up, so I don't have to ever hear anybody say that we're gonna.
So every lift that they do, which is a foot or so, I think at a time they do,
Mhm.
they have a independent testing laboratory come out
Okay,
and test on
Okay.
compaction and all that. And we've had our geotechnical engineer come out probably at least 4 times so far,
okay,
so, to see the conditions that are out there.
all right.
And I think, Bert, if I understood you correctly, when Pat starts doing some, you know, weekly or monthly or whatever videos, I think you had said that potentially by the groundbreaking, there might be some steel going up.
Potentially, I forget what the schedule exactly says, but
It'll be close, but.
it'll be
Yeah.
close, yeah.
Okay.
The foundations will be there though, and you'll be able to see. that there's
You'll
a
start to see
building
the
going
footprint
in.
taking
Right.
shape.
Yeah.
Now, the other piece is, though, that part of that footprint is coming into the existing Lake Brook, once the pool part and all that's torn down, right?
Yeah, none of the new building is in footprint, right, for parking lots
Oh, we
and
moved it.
fields, yeah.
Guess we
Although
got
That was the whole
original.
reason we got rid of
No,
the-
that was an original
Right.
plan.
So, if people do go out and take a look though, and I don't know, it might be hard to see now with the stakes, but once the foundations and we're at the groundbreaking, you can see, it's impressive how big this building is.
Mm.
It's really,
If only there were a way to get a flying camera over.
I know.
If only.
Well, especially when you go, I actually drove around the building last weekend, and you see the, you know, it wraps right around the whole building. It's huge, it's huge.
So,
Okay.
Best views from the roof of Lake
Where you
The
spend
roof.
It's very nice.
You're fixing something all the time up there?
Well, it's really
I
cold
think
morning.
he's got like a treehouse up there or something.
Anything else?
I do have
Shannon?
a question. So, I haven't seen like the samples, like the floor samples and the paint and all that stuff. I haven't seen them around, so I wasn't sure where we were with all of that. I was hanging out at the high school as one of my friendly custodians. And I got a tour of the floors on the 2nd and 3rd floor. Oh my gosh, they look terrible. Terrible. And it's not because they're not being upkept. They're just terrible. The person I was speaking with was telling me they'll go up there and scrub the floors and they look like they were never cleaned.
They look good when they're done with it, but they quickly scuff up and.
Very
mark
quickly.
up from
What-
the
what are
Because
depth.
he had said he had done it like 2 nights before.
They're the 2x2 Johnsonite, I can't think of the name of the tile that they used.
It's not the
We're not
terrace.
using
Is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not the
It's
terrazzo,
also the
no.
entrance.
It's a
Yeah.
solid vinyl tile.
it's pretty something, I think it's,
It looks super dull, like it looks terrible. It really does.
So you would like to know what we're using for the floors?
Yes, and the other thing that popped up while
I have the
I
boards
was
in my
talking
office.
was there are absolutely not one replacement tile anywhere to be found. Like if something cracks, there's
No,
no
there's no
replacement
replacement stock for those.
anywhere.
And they don't make them
Huge
anymore.
concern.
Right. So we have to find I have to find a close replacement for repairs.
So just something to think about moving forward.
There you go.
Yeah, because we will end up with some tile in the building, right? Terrazzo's only in the
Entrance way.
entrance, main entrance.
But we're using a linoleum sheet rather than VCT.
Right,
It's a
but it's
diff-
not a VCT, and what we expect for this job is different than the high school, but it's not a VCT either. Well, the high school's not a VCT.
Oh, I didn't realize.
So, I don't know if there's any VCT in the high school, but I don't think so. I think it's, I forget what the high school was, but we're using something a little bit different. We're using the linoleum products. So these boards that we put together, kind of our basis of design, but we didn't get any submittals on finishes from the contractor yet. So they don't have to necessarily give us what we expect as our basis of design. They have to give us something that's equal to it. So we can't pick colors and all the kind of finite details until we know what manufacturer they're giving us and what product line they're choosing from.
Like I said, I didn't know where it stood, but I wanted to mention it while it was fresh in my mind.
And
School
what
floors
is
are
your
always a
hope, that
challenge.
we're gonna have some extra
That'd
floor
be
covering?
great.
So there's always,
Maybe a
there's
box.
attic stock built into the project, and this is always a thing, you know, you probably heard, well, I don't know, but the people that were involved there in design, always heard me say, you know, the one thing that you're never gonna get enough of out of this project is storage. And so that's the flip side of that coin. We always do put the attic stock into the specs, but the district needs someplace to put it away when they get it all at the end of the job.
Maintenance building.
It's in the pool right now. I have pallets of ceiling tiles for the high school that we have to find room for in the high school.
So it's kind of surprising that I wonder what would happen to the flooring stock from the high school project, because typically flooring is something you get a couple boxes of.
And they did have replacement carpets. They have replaced the 2x2 square carpets in the office area where they've been worn a couple times. But they just have a few remnant pieces of tile.
So noted.
I just thought
Make
I'd
sure we
mention.
have some extra.
You get extra flooring, extra filters, extra
Put it in my
paint,
garage, it's
extra-
You said it.
Maren, didn't you have a question about the driveway that we were talking about and the weather of the spring?
Did we not already cover that before I got in here?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
The hard pack and stuff?
Yeah, so the hard pack's already running, and we haven't even had a rain yet since it was hard packed.
It
So,
rained last night.
not like it's about to over the next
Right,
couple days, and
right.
definitely not as we start to go
Yeah.
further into the
Yeah.
spring. Is there plans to gravel that? Because otherwise it is gonna become a huge mess, and it's gonna be causing cars then try to missing ruts and gonna be going into the other lane, which is inches away. So, I think it's
So
a
there's not
severe issue.
really a plan to gravel it. Most dirt roads are a hard pack like that.
There is a plan to maintain it.
There is a plan to maintain it. Fontaine is supposed to, with their site contractor, be supposed to be maintaining that, as well as the south parking lot throughout the job.
So if it gets quote unquote graded after a bad storm to that effect, it should be, I mean, most dirt roads that I've seen, I've driven on some that are better than the pavement, but they do have to grade them in the spring, usually when the frost comes out.
There's
of the
definitely
ground.
maintenance that's
Right.
necessary for that kind of a surface.
Yeah.
And that's something we talked about with Fontaine, quite a bit actually, that they should be maintaining that.
That's
Because
great.
this is not, I mean, this is not a dirt road like back in the woods. This is
Right.
half half
Yeah.
concrete,
Right.
half asphalt and half dirt road, and people are gonna be trying to miss those ruts and
Mhm.
squeezing all over around, and traffic is already bad enough as it is.
Right.
And if that's not maintained on a
Mhm.
weekly basis, that's gonna become a big issue.
It'll be like
So
that
it's-
south parking lot.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Correct.
We go through that.
Yeah.
We did get some pre-existing potholes in the road fixed as part of this project, so the right-hand side going down is a lot smoother than it was.
So maybe that's something we can be kind of proactive about at the weekly meetings,
Yeah.
checking the condition of that, because, you know, Fontaine's told us several times that they'll maintain it, but, they're busy doing a lot of other things too, so, you know, maybe from this side of the table, we can watch it and just.
Yeah, we'll remind them.
Give some friendly reminders to
Yeah.
them.
I can stop you guys' emails too.
Thursday meetings. and you're driving
I'm
in
on
and
it
out.
daily,
so we'll see it.
Yeah.
Some pictures of your potholes,
Yeah.
label them.
So, yeah, if you can just make sure that they're, I mean, I don't know what the difference would be to actually putting gravel down as opposed to just hard pack. I think it would last a lot longer. Like
They
you
may
know, you
get-
said, it's not that bad this season so far,
making
but
sure
it's, we're pretty lucky so far.
We're very fortunate.
So it's, you know, and it's already looked pretty bad a couple times, so,
In one particular area, I wouldn't say that I've driven on it several times now, and I think when you're leaving and you're getting up towards Park Street, the hard pack is pretty good. But there is a
There's a
lower
couple.
section that I think has the potential to be a challenge.
Yeah, and I
So
think
maybe
I-
not the whole thing.
Yeah, because I took a drive, before I came to the meeting, I took a drive there myself just to take a peek. And that drive, the driveway wasn't horrible, like you said, but it's only been 2 days, so.
Right.
That lower, that parking lot, when you pull in though, there were still a couple that, I'm just glad to hear that they're gonna keep an eye on that. Because I was gonna say, you're taking all the dirt out, put a couple shovelfuls over there, that's all it'll take to, you know,
weekly.
Yeah, like, because I can see that. It does, it's way better than it was when I drove by there last week before they did it. But, like I said, with the rain and all that other stuff and.
Right, and not to jump too far ahead, Bert, but when the time comes, so we have a construction road and we have the entrance for the school. How does that all get coordinated when it's time to build the new singular road? Is that gonna happen over a summer? Potentially?
I would think that the single road will happen over a summer, but that's really Fontaine's to figure out how they want to schedule that and work it in, so.
Good. Anything else?
Never done.
Next meeting is March 24th. I believe I will be away, Pat, on that week, Patrick.
What's that?
I believe I'll be away for the next meeting,
When was that?
March 24th.
That is a school committee meeting.
At 6 o'clock, so
and it's the
we
budget
need to be
hearing.
efficient.
We need to be out.
Cannot have that meeting that
By
day because
10?
I will be away, March 24th.
Okay.
Unless, I don't.
So would I, not gonna matter.
Well,
So there we go. So now we're slowly
you have to worry
moving.
about quorums too, but
Yeah, I'm out of town that day, so
is there a different date that works for folks?
you want to push it back a week, or forward a week?
31st?
To the 31st?
I'm good with that.
We'll bring cake.
We'll check with,
No, for her birthday.
I heard her.
Oh, all right.
Hey, check with Allison.
Okay.
We'll sing to you, Dale, how's that?
But let's tentatively say, Mark, is that okay with you
I know I'll
guys?
die.
Please,
Tim, Bert?
What was it?
March 31st.
He's not gonna forget.
Pat, I'm not sure I'm back.
I don't remember he's bringing cake.
I'm doing 31st cake.
Allison, can you check, we're talking
Can
about
you do
moving
March
next meeting to March
31st
31st.
instead of the 24th?
Pat, you're here though, right?
Because
I
too
believe
many
I'm still
people
not
are
back
gonna
on
be
Yeah,
the-
I'm here that day.
on the 24th.
I'm back on the
You're back on the
21st.
coincidentally.
No, that's good. Yeah, I can do it.
Okay, we can do
Yeah.
it.
Okay, March 31st,
Instead of
instead of the 24th.
Right.
Because myself and my backup won't be here,
Right.
but my backup will be here the week after. You can find
I
out.
will. I'll be in the state, so that's.
You might
Glad you
be at a
can
Red
fit
Sox
us in,
sometime.
Pat. It's a lot of traveling, buddy.
We'll have a motion.
He's not even an empty nester yet.
Someone's got to do it.
Is there a second?
Second.
The two
Dave-
Daves,
David.
Boyle,
David
Boyle,
Dave.
Motter. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much,
Wanted to make it
everyone.
easier.
Not bad.
Thank you very
Thank you all.
I mean, it's 6:15.
Somebody will fill in.
Camera? Judy, I'll send that reminder to you in the morning.
Thank you.
I think it's, yeah, it's on.
Stop. You guys want to take any action?
Yeah, actually, I'll plug it.